At the dawn of the 20th century, the world stood at what many believed was the peak of human civilization. Cities were expanding, technology advancing, and culture reflected a sense of confidence and progress. Beneath this polished surface, however, a volatile mix of ambition, fear, and rivalry was quietly building across Europe. The great powers were locked in a complex web of alliances and tensions, each convinced of its own strength. France longed to reclaim lost territories, while Germany, rapidly industrializing, sought to expand its influence. Britain watched nervously as Germany invested heavily in building a powerful navy. Empires like Austria-Hungary struggled to maintain control over diverse populations desiring independence. In the Balkans, nationalism was on the rise, fueled by support from larger powers like Russia. Conversations were polite on the surface but filled with suspicion, and military technology evolved. Despite this, there was an undercurrent of readiness for a confrontation many believed was inevitable. It was in this charged atmosphere that a single event triggered a chain reaction. A high-ranking royal figure from Austria-Hungary visited a politically sensitive region. The visit was meant to demonstrate authority, but it instead exposed vulnerability. The route was publicly known, and young nationalists took advantage of the opportunity. An initial attempt on the royal's life failed, causing chaos but not achieving its intended outcome. What followed, however, was a series of unfortunate decisions and coincidences. Rather than withdrawing to safety, the royal party continued its public appearances. A wrong turn by the driver brought them face to face with one of the conspirators. Shots were fired, and the situation escalated from a local incident to an international crisis. The assassination sent shockwaves through Austria-Hungary, which quickly blamed a neighboring nation. Whether or not that nation was directly involved became irrelevant in the face of rising anger and retribution. Diplomatic efforts quickly gave way to ultimatums. A list of demands was issued, deliberately harsh and nearly impossible to fully accept. When the targeted nation attempted to negotiate, it was not enough. War was declared, and the intricate alliance system sprang into action. What might have remained a regional conflict rapidly expanded into a continental war. Countries bound by treaties found themselves compelled to join, others drawn in. Military strategies planned in advance were put into motion, designed for quick victories. One such plan relied on speed and surprise, aiming to defeat one opponent quickly. However, these plans required moving through a neutral country, which resisted the invasion. This act provoked another major power to enter the conflict, transforming the situation. In the early stages, there was still a widespread belief that it would be short-lived. Soldiers marched with confidence, and leaders spoke of swift victories. Yet reality soon proved far more brutal. Traditional tactics clashed disastrously with modern weapons like machine guns and heavy artillery. Brightly colored uniforms became deadly liabilities on the battlefield. Armies advancing in formation were cut down with alarming efficiency. As fighting intensified, neither side could achieve an easy breakthrough. Defensive positions grew stronger, and both sides began to dig into the earth itself. These trenches became the defining feature of the conflict. Soldiers lived in narrow, muddy passages under constant threat from enemy fire. No Man's Land was a desolate and dangerous expanse filled with craters and barbed wire. Attacks began with prolonged shelling to weaken defenses and morale. When bombardment ended, waves of soldiers would climb out and advance across open ground. They faced relentless machine gun fire, and casualties were often devastating. Gains were measured in meters, at the cost of thousands of lives. The psychological toll was immense. with many experiencing trauma from prolonged exposure to war. Life in the trenches was harsh beyond imagination. Constant moisture turned the ground into thick mud that could trap and even drown those who slipped. Unburied bodies added to the risk of disease and created unbearable smells. Rats thrived, feeding on scraps while soldiers battled infections and exhaustion. Despite hardships, orders came from commanders far removed from the front lines. The war dragged on, month after month, year after year, with no clear end in sight. What began as a conflict fueled by pride transformed into a grueling struggle. It became a stark reminder that advancements also brought unprecedented destruction, reshaping the political landscape and the lives of millions caught in its wake.